With your custom package, you are able to collect two types of signatures. You are still going to have those people in your community that absolutely hate everything electronic. They do not like any emails, they don't like computers, none of that. And for those people, you will always have the ability to collect that pen and paper signature. Here in OneSite, that pen and paper signature is referred to as an OFSA option. That stands for On File Signature Authorization. But also with your custom package, you will now have the ability to collect an electronic signature using Docusign. But it is important to know which way you are wanting your applicants or residents to sign these documents within your packet prior to choosing a signature choice out of those two options. Reason being is once you choose a signature style, the other options actually taken away from us inside this packet and forces everybody in the household to sign in the same signature style that was first signed before. So what we mean by that, if we have two applicants, a husband and wife, and the wife signs electronically, that now means that the husband must sign electronically and the office must countersign electronically. And vice versa, if that first person signs pen and paper, now everybody, including the office, must sign pen and paper. You cannot have mixed signature styles within a packet simply because the other option will disappear once you choose which signature style you prefer. So Tom has reached out to us. I know that he has email. He's very tech savvy, so I'm going to go ahead and send his packet electronically using Docusign. Because I know which signing manner I want to proceed with, I can go ahead and access my packet and click Sign Documents. When I do that, both signature options will be presented to me. Again, you have your Docusign, which is your electronic signature, and you have your OFSA, which stands for your pen and paper signatures. Once I hit Sign, choosing Docusign, the OFSA will no longer be present for me to choose from inside this particular packet. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed and hit Sign. That takes me to a Docusign Household Signatures page. Anybody listed here has been given the lease signer responsibility in OneSite. You can typically tell because they have an S out beside their name here in contacts. And they've been given the appropriate relationship status as well. Docusign best works with two different relationship statuses. One will always be the head of household, as you always have to have a head of household in OneSite, typically the first person to apply. And the other is an adult co-head of household. So they need to have one of those two relationship statuses in order for Docusign to register this person as someone needing to sign the lease documents. So if you have a husband and wife, and the wife is the head of household, then it is best to make the husband the adult co-head of household, not spouse. If you have two roommates, one is the head of household, the other should also be the adult co-head of household, not roommate. So standardize your status process and making sure that they do fit within those two relationship statuses when possible. I can see I only have one signer in this example, and that is Tom. He has been marked as a lease signer, and he has been marked as the head of household, so he meets both criteria and does appear here within my list to send for electronic signature. Not only that, but here in the email section, if Tom had provided us an email during his leasing process, that would have pulled over based on what he had in his contacts. I can see he did not have an email listed, and I can see this area is text enabled. So even if his email had come over, if there was a misspelling, or if he wanted to use an alternative email, I would be able to adjust that here within this window. Once adjusted and I hit close, whatever email I have listed here will actually update for Tom under contacts. So I'm going to go ahead and type in an email. And we can also see we have the cell phone number that pulls over. Now, the most common action that you guys will use here within this window is the send email functionality for your residents. This will send the packet directly to their email for them to quickly access Docusign and sign all the documents that are needed. But It is very important that if you want to use this functionality, that each and every person listed here does have their own unique email address. So again, if you have that husband and wife situation, and the husband is the head of household and uses his email, and the wife uses his email as well, then when we hit send email, it's actually going to give us an error message. It's going to say, sorry, but we need unique email addresses in order to verify that this person truly is who they say they are. Typically a pretty easy thing to solve nowadays. Most people have about 5 or 6 emails on average, so simply call one of the people and ask for an alternative email. If they don't have one, call the other and ask for an alternative email. But if they still don't have one and you do want to collect that electronic signature, there is a workaround. You can see we do have a secondary option called Sign Now. It is very rarely used, but it is nice to know that it is there for you in the event that you need it. So if we do have duplicate addresses, email addresses I mean, and we want to still collect that electronic signature and there truly is no other alternative email, then we can go ahead and type none@none.com and proceed with sending one packet via the email, and then the other can be signed electronically in person on day of move-in using your Sign Now option. What this is, and why it's pretty rarely used, is because this is your option for those that are wanting to use your computer signed into your OneSite account to sign their documents. In order for OneSite to allow that to happen, OneSite needs to have an authorization code basically stating this person truly is who they say they are and no one is trying to falsify any records. Well, the manner in which OneSite sends that authorization code is pretty repetitive in the way that you could just hit send email and sign directly there if the alternative emails were provided. So one of those is Resident Portal. Well, if the resident has access to their resident portal, then they can sign their documents directly through that portal account, or that typically means they have access to internet, and if they have an alternative email, they can just sign directly using the send email functionality. Send code via email. Well, that's a little bit redundant. Instead of getting a code and going here and plugging that in and signing there, why not just cut out the middleman and sign directly via email using your send email functionality? But if you were to ever use this option, it would probably be for your third option down here, which is the Sign Now via text message. So in the event that someone did not have a data plan or a smartphone, they could still receive a text message code. They could provide you that text message code, hit provide, type that in, and that would give them access to Docusign within your OneSite account for them to sign with you in person. So again, very rarely used. You may use it once a year, but it's nice to know that it's there and what it is there for and how to use it. So in our example today, I'm going to just use the send email functionality, which is how you guys will use it most often. Now, if I did have multiple names here, we do know that they do need unique email addresses, but also you only have to hit the send email to one of these. Doesn't matter who's listed, you just have to hit send email to one of them, and it will systematically send the packet to everybody listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit the send email. As I only have one person, it's Tom, so it's going to send it to Tom. Once it's sent, I'm going to get a success message, and it will basically state your email has been successfully sent. Now, when I click OK and I close out, I want you to pay attention. Right now in the background of the packet, we can see OFSA still listed out beside each and every one of our documents inside my packet. That's important because it does give us a telltale sign as to whether or not we've sent this via Docusign. What I mean by that is when I click OK off of the success message, it takes me right back to this household signatures page. There is nothing here that is grayed out to tell me that I've already sent this. There's nothing here to say, hey, you did your job, close out. Nothing. And you guys on site live crazy lives, and your time is basically dedicated to whatever the resident needs it to be. So you hit OK off that success message and you get to the screen, and then immediately a resident comes storming into your office, doesn't care that your door was closed because you were obviously busy, and wants to talk to you about why they were late paying rent, why it's all your fault, as always, and giving you a list of demands as to what they need to happen to pay their rent, and they're not going to pay rent next month, and so on and so forth, and they just go on and on and on for about an hour. Well, that takes up a lot of your attention. You come back to the screen after that resident leaves your office. Again, nothing here to tell you you've sent this, so you freak out a little bit and you're like, oh no, I need to send this, so we hit send email again. It will truly send it again, giving you another success message. You close out, the resident comes back into your office. He is not done. He wants to go into more detail as to why you're just ruining his life because you have to run a property. It's never ending with you guys. So what happens each and every time we get distracted on site and we hit that send email button is it truly sends another packet to the resident or to the applicant, and it will void out the previous packet that was sent or even error it out if they're in the middle of signing it. So if you don't know if you've sent this, all you need to do is hit close off this window. If you do not see OFSA, but instead you see status out beside these forms, that is your indication that this has been sent via Docusign and you are just pending signatures at this time. So really, really nice tip or trick to know. The status button is actually very cool too. It has a lot of different information that you can get from it. So if you have multiple lease signers that you sent this packet to and you're trying to figure out who has signed, who still needs to sign, then by clicking on the status button, you are able to find that out. In the status button, you are able to see who it has been sent to. Once that person has actually opened their email, it will show delivered out beside their name. Once they've actually signed their packet, it will show completed out beside their name. And you can keep tabs of that on anybody that has been sent this packet from that one status button. So what is the residents going to see on their side? They are going to get an email from Docusign and only from Docusign. It is very important to notate that they will never get an email from your community email or your personal email. But even with Docusign, there are numerous benefits you can express to your residents or applicants that are concerned. Docusign has many security features that are in play for their product. One of which is you can see I'm truly not even in the email itself, but simply in a preview window of that email. I know that it's asking me to open an attachment, but in this day and age where emails can carry multiple viruses or malware, anybody can be a little nervous opening an attachment. But just in the preview window, I can clearly see my name and I can see exactly what it's asking me to access. So if I'm Tom and I know that I've recently leased an apartment with you guys, I should be expecting lease paperwork that looks just like this, and I would know the days that I leased it for. So I can feel very comfortable and confident proceeding with opening this attachment. If I'm Tom and I've been a homeowner and have been for 12 years, well, this looks really fishy. I don't know anything about this. I can delete the email without never having accessed the documents or exposing myself to what may have been within them. Also, you can always tell your applicants that they can hover over the actual attachment link. When they do that, it will show them the true destination that it's going to send them to. And the very first thing you can see is Safe Links Protection. And down below it, you can see Docusign.net. You can see that the website is actually spelled correctly. Most that are, if not all that are, fake emails that are leading you to a false destination, you'll be able to tell by reading the destination link. You'll also be able to tell because most commonly they'll have misspellings for the main name, so Docusign would be spelled incorrectly. So I can feel comfortable and confident proceeding by clicking on Review Documents. That will launch me into the Docusign program. At the very top of the page, I can see that Docusign is a secured window, and I can see my packet, but I can't access my packet. And that's because everybody must first agree to the electronic records and signatures disclosure here at the very top of the page. This creates a certificate to back up the authenticity of your electronic signatures that are collected throughout this process. And those are actually going to be stored inside your packet automatically for you. Now, if they're like some of our residents that think that they are lawyers and they want to argue everything, they can actually click on the disclosure and read it word for word. But if they're like most of our residents, they're just going to push a bunch of buttons until it's done. So they're just going to hit that OK, and they're going to hit continue. When they do that, they will be able to access their document in its entirety. So they can take as much time reading it as thoroughly as possible, or they can be like most of our residents that just are going to start hitting buttons. Either way works. Whenever they hit that first button, it is going to take them immediately down to whatever first initial or first signature is present within the packet. I can see this first one is an initial. When I click on that initial, it will assign a general initial to me. If I'm not happy with that, I can change that style to something I feel best suits me, or I can even draw whatever initial I feel is super duper me. So whatever they put here is still legal binding, does not matter what it is. So I'm saying this is my initial and I'm going to adopt it, which means it's going to carry that same initial throughout any other document that requires an initial in this packet. The next one it stops me at is a full signature. A signature is different than an initial, so it's going to have you do the same process. So I'm now going to draw my signature. Again, whatever they put, legal binding. You can see it down here. They are agreeing that this is their signature and that this is a legal binding signature. Now you can see it just starts throwing you down throughout the page to any signatures that are required. And your residents or applicants cannot miss a signature. So let's say they don't see this area here. So if they get caught up, they don't see it, they continue on down throughout their document. What's going to happen is when we get down to the very bottom of the page, it's going to immediately shoot them up to the missing signature that they did not see. You can see that happened actually quite quickly. Let's see that they didn't see that still. They know that there's a missing signature, but they just don't know where. Just by there being a button on the left that is clickable or accessible is an indication that there is a missing signature. And if they were to click on that at any time, it will take them to that missing signature. Let's say they just don't agree. They're like, I am not signing that one document, and they try to hit finish. It's now going to highlight it in red. They cannot finish a packet unless they sign all required documents indicated during your original setup. So I'm going to go ahead and finally sign that last signature. I can see the button on the left has now disappeared, and when I click finish, it's actually going to allow me to do so. Once that happens, you're going to see you're done in a big blue screen. Once your residents or applicants have gotten this blue screen, that's all they need to see. They do not need to sign up for Docusign. They do not need to create any Docusign account. This is it. So they can simply close out of the screen and proceed about their day. So we're going to say that they signed at, just hanging out in the middle of the night on their couch, eating some Ben & Jerry's ice cream because they don't have to be up early in the morning, but we have to be up early in the morning to make sure that their packets are good to go and that we're ready for their move-in. So we come in the next day, we open up our Today page, and what are we going to see? So before where we had 2 remaining zeros, we now only have 1. And the document that changed, or the column that changed, is the required documents ready for countersignature. It was 0, and now it shows 7. So at this point, you've done your due diligence before even generating the documents. Then you did another due diligence checking the documents before even sending them. And the resident has already signed. So there's really no need to go through the residents at a glance page any longer. Now we can just access the packet directly by clicking on the move-in packet under packet name. When we do so, we can see right underneath, under our notes column, it says signature has been updated, and if we hover over it, it will tell us the last person that has signed. I know that all lease signing parties have signed because this column changed. If we had a husband and wife situation and both were indicated with the appropriate relationship and lease signing status, and only one of them had signed their packets, this column would still show 0 until the other signed. It is only once everybody in the household indicated as the lease signer has signed that this column would change. So I know it is time for my counter signature. So once I'm in my packet, I'm going to click Sign Documents again. This is going to bring me to a Docusign counter signatures page. And I have the same 2 action items given to me, just like the Docusign household signatures. But unlike that, the Sign Now option is most commonly what you guys will use. Your first red flag is that if you are an eDoc signer, your name would be the very first name that you see when you come to this window because you would be signed in into your own account. If your name is not the very first name that you see, then chances are you are not an eDoc signer and will need to reach out to your company super user for them to add that ability to your current role in OneSite. If your name is the very first name listed here, then you will always use the Sign Now option, which will bring Docusign immediately into OneSite for you to quickly place that counter signature. But the send email functionality is still a really great choice in the event that you are not the eDoc signer. So let's say that you're a leasing agent and your community manager, who is the eDoc signer for your community, is working elsewhere. Maybe they're stuck listening to this 2-hour webinar with this girl that sounds like she's 8 and they don't have time to move in this person or sign these documents. Maybe they're working from home. Maybe they're working from a sister community. Doesn't matter their location, we do not want to tie your managers down to their desk or to their computers to ensure these signatures happen. We want to give you flexibility in that. So as a leasing agent, even though you are not an eDoc signer, you would still have all the capabilities to do what we've done thus far. But instead of seeing your name here, you would find your community manager or your company's super eDoc signer, and you would hit Send Email. That would send the packet to their email or their smartphone for them to quickly access no matter their location, place that counter signature, finalize those documents so that you can proceed in doing what you need to do for your move-in or renewal that's happening on site while they're away. So still a really great option. But again, if you are the eDoc signer and you're signed into your own account, just use the Sign Now option to bring Docusign immediately into OneSite for you. You too have to agree to the electronic records and signatures disclosure at the top of the page to create a certificate to back up your signature, and you're given all the same capabilities that the resident or applicant's given. So carry through the entire document, making sure to sign everything. Again, the system will ensure that happens. And once I've signed and hit finish, it's going to take me right back into my packet. Now, because I've actively made a change to my documents while in the packet, I'm going to hit refresh contents to ensure that change takes. And once I do that, I can see I have a lot of green checkboxes suddenly appear.